Alrighty, radio check, loud and clear. Thank you everyone for tuning in and welcome along to the coverage of the Spanish Grand Prix. We are 30 minutes away from the start of free practice 3 and we have got a lot of action waiting for us. We're just going to do a little debrief of Friday practice, see what the team said, see what the drivers said, how they're feeling about their chances here in Spain, and then we'll get on to the start of the session. Currently up on the screen, we've got the free practice 2 timings. We had Lando Norris finish free practice 1 on top. We had Oscar Piastri finish free practice 2 on top. The McLarens are looking good as always. So just to review the top 3, we had Norris in first, Verstappen in second, Hamilton in third. During free practice 1 and free practice 2, we had Piastri first, Russell second, and Verstappen third. So the consistency being there from Max Verstappen and Lando, and the McLarens. They're both consistently up there in free practice 1 and free practice 2. And just looking back at what they said in the press conferences afterwards, that the McLaren is quicker, but they aren't. They can't get complacent. They still do have a very, very small margin to Max Verstappen, and there's not a very high chance that, they're going to run away with this pole position very, very easily. I think Max Verstappen's going to fight it. If we have a look at the ideal laps, the theoretical best laps from the drivers, Max Verstappen gets pretty much is on par with the best lap that the McLarens could do. So, yeah. In theory, we should get a very, very close battle for pole position later today. What time is qualifying? We've got qualifying starting, folks. Qualifying will be in 4 hours' time. So wherever you are in the world, 4 hours later, that is the start of quali. But for now, we are 30 minutes away from the start of free practice. That is one thing that I totally forgot to do the sectors as well. Oh my God, I've had a very busy day. And yeah, I guess that I'll get done for quali. I'm pretty bad at this, actually. Okay. F1 Gamer, who do you want to win this race? I hope Alonso will get it. Well, I hope Alonso can finish up in the top 6. That should be good. I think his pace is there. The Aston Martin has improved quite significantly. You'll have to do, a pretty good performance to get ahead of Leclerc, get ahead of Antonelli and stuff like that. But it's definitely within the capabilities of Fernando Alonso, especially if the Aston Martin team can get the strategy right. Okay, yeah, last year's quali was a 1:11.383, so a bit away from that in FP2 exactly. We are still, 1.4 seconds off of last year's qualifying time. Of course, the new technical directive has come in. That should mix up the pack a little bit. Probably not too much because all of the teams were prepared for this scenario. They all knew the flexible rings change was coming, so it wasn't like an instant change where they immediately got their most up-to-date parts removed and had to revert back to older parts. The teams knew this was coming. They designed upgrade packages specifically for this, and so we shouldn't see the performance change too significantly. However, there will be a shift, and I think the shift is heading towards McLaren getting a little bit slower compared to what they previously were. Aston has quite a strong car, but the strategy is absolutely horrendous. Yeah, ever since Bernie Collins left Aston Martin and went to Sky Sports to become a commentator, no, not ever since that, but, Bernie Collins was a very critical team member in Aston Martin doing the strategy work, and of course she will have, taken some of that expertise with her and maybe not passed all of it on. So Aston Martin haven't had the best strategy or the best luck recently either. That's been another problem. Fernando Alonso just getting caught out with technical issues that hasn't helped his progress whatsoever. Alright folks, thanks everyone for tuning in. Be sure to hit the like button, be sure to subscribe, it really does help out the channel, would very much be appreciated. Okay. Is the yellow flag? No, the yellow flags are out there just because they were testing the yellow flag systems at the end of free practice 2. Nothing too out of the ordinary there. No issues on the circuit or anything, nothing like that. All of the drivers made it in just fine. The only incident that we really had yesterday, well, there were 2 sort of incidents. One very minor one was where Lance Stroll caused a yellow flag. I didn't even figure out how he caused a yellow flag, but he did. And that got resolved within a matter of about 5 seconds. So no real issues there. Oliver Behrman did have a very high-speed spin at turn number 3 and got very lucky to get away with it without any damage to his car. He drove over the gravel, which might have changed which might have damaged a few bits on the floor, but no major crash, no nothing. He didn't touch the barriers for that matter. Spun the car, managed to keep going in the correct direction, albeit slightly on the gravel instead of on the track, but yeah, recovered from that very, very nicely. Okay, can Verstappen win this weekend? I mean, there's okay. I'm going to be honest with you here. The Red Bull looks really good in qualifying pace. The race pace, however, the McLaren does have the upper hand, and it yeah, they look quite significantly ahead of Red Bull. So we'll just have to really wait and see, because Max Verstappen, as we know, can always put together a great quali lap, especially if the car is in the place where he wants it to be, which by the looks of it, it is. If we look at the qualifying simulation times, the theoretical best times from Piastri and Norris, and compare them against Max Verstappen's theoretical times, they are pretty much identical. They are very, very close to each other. However, when we start talking about race pace, the McLarens, their tyre wear just seems to be a lot less than all of the other teams, not just Red Bull, and they have the upper hand there. One team that is lacking in the tyre wear department is Mercedes. Mercedes' qualifying pace, just like Red Bull's, looks good. However, their race pace, especially in these hot conditions here in Barcelona, is really, really costing them some pace in the long runs. And we'll just have to, yeah, we'll see how they can cope with that. They are still optimistic. They think they can make some solid progress. Of course, they brought upgrades this weekend, so that should also help them out as well. How do you think McLaren is still fast after the flexi wing is gone? Well, the thing is, the flexi wing wasn't the only thing making McLaren the fastest team on the grid. There are a combination of other factors. You know, their tyre wear is great. They just have generally more downforce and less drag than all of the other teams. So it's a combination of factors. Of course, the flexi wing may reduce the advantage that they have in terms of downforce levels or drag levels compared to other teams, but it's not going to get rid of every single advantage that McLaren have, and they still have a couple of tricks up their sleeve, and that's why they can still hold on to the top spot. Guys, do you feel Ferrari got a bit of improvements? I feel like they will have got a bit of improvements relative to the other teams. I don't think Ferrari were as badly affected by the flexible wings. Because, well, they were one of the teams, of course, pushing for the banning of flexible wings because they didn't have flexible wings. The other teams did, so that would have slowed down the other teams and kept Ferrari around about the same pace, which is exactly what they were, hoping for. So yeah, I think that's what should happen. Ferrari should close the gap a little bit to McLaren. I don't think they'll be quicker than McLaren by any stretch of the imagination, but I think they'll be closer. And that was kind of reflected yesterday with Charles Leclerc only being 2/10 off the back of Lando Norris in free practice 2. But of course, these are all free practice timings, and the fuel loads and the engine settings are all unknown, and most of them aren't particularly representative regardless. Well, we can't say that the upgrades have worked or quality. Yeah, we can never really say that, but by the early signs, you can tell sometimes if the upgrades are working or not. If the car just looks stable, if the car doesn't look stable, then you can tell that there's some issue with the upgrades and the downforce isn't being produced as expected. But apart from that, we're seeing the Red Bull and the Mercedes car is looking pretty stable, and their car, George Russell's doing pretty well there. Up only 3/10 back from Piastri, and he did down a set of soft tyres. His medium tyre pace, though, a bit lacking compared to the rest of the grid. Alright, folks. If you have any questions, anything that you want to ask me or about Formula One, then be sure to drop them in the chat. I do have a bunch of time. Did you read about Hulkenberg's statement in Monaco qualifying? If you want to finish, better qualify ahead, stop crying. I mean, yeah, pretty Chad move. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing about Monaco. Qualifying's way more important than the actual races, as we saw last weekend. You can drive 4 seconds slower than the competition. As long as you're ahead of them, it doesn't matter. So, yeah, Hulkenberg was pretty correct when he said that, to be honest. Alonso looking good in P7, indeed so. He's looking good. Of course, it's his home race as well. Same thing for Carlos Sainz, and they expect to do well. I think Williams said that they weren't expecting to do so greatly. But the progress through the season that they've had has been quite incredible, to be honest. So I'm gonna doubt that a little bit. And I think they should get into the top 3. What is the weather predicted for the weekend? It is nice and sunny in Barcelona. Nice and sunny, no clouds really in sight. The temperature is slightly lower today than it was yesterday, and then tomorrow it is slightly warmer than it was yesterday. So the grip levels are going to be pretty close to each other. Maybe a degree or two difference, not too big. Who do you think will be on pole position? I mean, it's tough to say. I think it's, if I'm going to be honest, I think it's going to be close between Piastri, Verstappen, and Norris. Maybe George Russell can stick a good lap in together, but I'm not really sure. Yeah. If we do look back at last year's quali, George Russell was the only car. Well, George Russell, Max Verstappen, and Lance Stroll were the only three drivers to go flat in the final corner, and that could bode well. Maybe George Russell has a little extra trick up his sleeve to be able to go flat through the final corner. Maybe the extra downforce levels will mean a lot of drivers go flat through the final corner, but I guess we'll just have to wait and see. Okay, I will take you through an onboard lap of the circuit. In fact, let's go here. All right. So you come out of the final corner here. You just want to get a really good exit onto the main straight. That's the key part of this final corner. You got a long DRS zone up ahead of you, as is expected of Barcelona, really. And you brake at the little concrete patch there on the left-hand side, just at the 70-meter mark. Make it through these first two corners. You've got camber helping you out through these corners, so you can actually carry quite a bit of speed, 4th and 5th gear through the first two corners, then your 6th gear, 7th gear through turn number 3, trying to hug the inside line during quali, brake under the bridge here, get an early apex, and then run out wide, because your exit doesn't particularly matter because you're going to get on the brakes in another 40 meters anyway. Then this corner, a good exit is very important. You don't want too much wheel spin like I just got there. And then now you go towards Worth corner, where you got a quick left then right, and the drivers just try to minimize the amount of steering angle through there. The less steering angle you put in, the less the car becomes unstable. Then you go through Campsa, which is pretty much flat in these cars. The drivers probably will be going flat during the race as well at some points, depending on how hard they're pushing and the fuel loads and things like that. Then you're going towards the final sector now, where it is just very critical to keep up your minimum speeds. It's not so much about hitting the apex. If you can carry more speed through the corner, that's going to be much more beneficial, especially through these long corners like turn number 13 and 14, and then turn number 14, of course. All you want to do is hold it flat as close to flat as you can without exceeding track limits. Why is it Alonso's car only one getting problems? Is he pushing the car further to the limit or something else? I'm not really sure. Not really sure what's going on with Alonso. I mean, maybe it's just a spout of bad luck, really. Kimi Antonelli had issues in Imola. George Russell had battery issues in Monaco. So the Mercedes power unit has been doing so great for them. Then Fernando Alonso had another issue with the power unit. So maybe it'll be time for one of the McLarens to get some issues, because they're the only Mercedes engines that haven't had any issues. Actually, Williams had issues? If I remember correctly, I don't think they have. So yeah, Williams and McLaren still the two teams using the Mercedes engine that haven't had too many issues. And maybe they'll have issues this weekend because the temperatures are nice and hot here in Barcelona. Williams have brought larger cooling vents, larger cooling packages for this weekend, so that should help them out, keeping the car cool in that sort of department. And then we'll see what McLaren do. Okay. Did you see Adrian Newey checking out the McLarens at Monaco? Yeah, I did see that. I saw a couple of memes about it as well. Adrian Newey just analysing the McLaren car, seeing what's good, seeing what's not, probably running some CFD in his brain, and then just telling the Aston Martin team what they should design for their upgrades. Alonso will spin or have an engine brake mid-race, maybe he'll have a GP2 engine. I mean, he was complaining about the engine yesterday. They were telling him that Alonso came over the radio saying the engine's not working as expected. It's not delivering power as smoothly as it should be down the straights. And then they were like, switch to Strat 3, and then Alonso was like, I don't want to lose 2/10 down every single straight. Essentially just saying, I don't want a GP2 engine. Alright, also folks, if you haven't hit the like button, be sure to do so. Hopefully we can make our way towards 1,500 likes, and our like and our subscriber target for today is 162k. Hopefully we can hit that with a couple more people watching for qualifying. 167k, not 162. Suspicious about Aston, since both Merck and McLaren, both drivers have suffered equally, while Alonso is the only one in the Aston. I hope it's the Stroll skill issue, not sabotage. No, I don't think it's a. I don't think there'll be any sort of sabotage going on. Like you've got to be kind of crazy, really, when you have such an experienced driver like Fernando Alonso to try and sabotage him. Like it's a ludicrous idea. There were people talking about, Mercedes is sabotaging Lewis Hamilton, and that's why he was doing so bad last season, and it clearly wasn't. He was losing out to qualifying in George Russell, losing out in race pace to George Russell. He's come to Ferrari, the same things are happening. He's losing most of the qualifying to Charles Leclerc, who's also losing out in race pace. On some occasions he will do better, but I don't think there's any sort of sabotage going on. I think that's just a ridiculous suggestion. Okay. Yeah, we should have the FP3 data loading in around about 10:50. Well, in about 5-10 minutes now, and we'll be getting underway very, very shortly. Okay, let's run through a little bit more of the news segments for today. So we have also heard some rumours that Christian Horner is being approached for the Ferrari team boss. Ferrari keep changing their team boss very, very frequently. Firstly they had Aravabene, and then they went to Matteo Binotto, and then they went from Matteo Binotto to Fred Vasseur, and now Fred Vasseur, who I think is a great team principal, by the way, is now. There are rumours that they're looking to replace him with Christian Horner. I don't think Christian Horner will do it. He's been with the Red Bull team pretty much ever since it started, and he has been fully integrated within that team. And I see no reason why he would want to leave. Of course, if there's a big paycheck at Ferrari, I'm sure that'll help. But then he'll have to, of course, uproot his entire life and make his way towards Maranello in Italy rather than staying in the UK, which is a pretty big decision. So we'll see what happens of that. But Christian Horner says that he's 100% committed to the Red Bull cause and is not thinking about going to Ferrari. Who should Red Bull replace him with if he does? Ooh, that is an interesting question. Who, I think maybe they don't get an outside team principal. Maybe they sort of have someone come up within the Red Bull management who is already sort of a key part of the team, and then he'll step in or she'll step in and sort of take a promotion essentially and become team principal. So but the thing is, a lot of Red Bull's talent has been poached away. Red Bull's talent of engineering, aerodynamics. Of course, Adrian Newey has left to Aston Martin. Jonathan Wheatley has been gone to Sauber. So it's a constant game in Formula One. If you are a known person that has led to some success within the team, then you'll be getting contract offers from all of the other teams trying to sign you on. And a lot of the team people have left Red Bull, maybe because it's not the best work environment, maybe because they just want something new. Personally, if you told me that, I could move from the UK, move to Sauber and live in Switzerland, that would sound pretty appealing, if I'm going to be totally honest with you. But who knows? Who knows what will happen there? I also don't know what's gone on here with the speed trap speeds. I think these drivers are the Formula 2 drivers or the Formula 3 drivers. I don't know why how we've got Formula 2 drivers up on the system, because typically the Formula 2 thing never has any data. But I guess I will. I guess I'll have a look. The yellow little green lines, the yellow lines, sorry, are the mini sectors. So each sector is split into even smaller sectors where you can analyze where the drivers are going quicker or slower than their personal best, which is, a little bit more extra information that you can sort of use to figure out who's going quicker in quali. If you see someone lighting up everything with purple, then you know it's a special lap. And quite often we've seen some of those laps from Verstappen, from Norris, from Piastri. Yeah, I think Lando Norris, in fact, the last lap of the Monaco Grand Prix went about 3-4 seconds quicker than his previous race laps, because he was just showing, oh yeah, I won the Monaco Grand Prix by driving slowly, but I did actually have the pace as well, and then set a fantastic fastest lap at the end of the race as well. So, it's a nice little piece of information. Quali starts in 3 hours and 40 minutes. 3 hours and 40 minutes. What are your top 5 racetracks? Top 5 racetracks? Well, I've got to put Interlagos on there. Interlagos has got to be up there. You got to put Spa on there. Suzuka, the racing may not be great, but Suzuka, the circuit itself, is fantastic. Let's see, 2 other circuits. I feel I had to pick. Let me have a think, actually. Let me scroll through the calendar. Ooh, I think Austria is always a great circuit. Always get some really good racing around there. Of course, it's a very simple and straightforward circuit. Just a couple of hairpins, couple of corners here and there. I think there's only really 7 real corners in Austria, or even 6. But I'd have to put Austria there just for the racing that it produces, and then maybe Singapore, or maybe Monza. No, I think I'm going to go with Singapore. Singapore's produced some good races throughout the years, and Seb Vettel's last win was there as well. And since I'm a Seb Vettel fan, I'm gonna say Singapore. Yeah, I don't know why it says the F2 speed traps, and then in fact, let me just refresh the data. I don't know what's going on here. Oh. The data, okay, well, I've just refreshed the data now, and hopefully that should fix it. But for whatever reason, the F2 data has been mixed in with the Formula 1 data, which, I mean, the FIA just, surprises us in every which way possible. Most of the time, it's with the GPS being broken, but, I never would have thought that the Formula 2 data somehow gets mixed with the Formula 1 data, but the FIA proves us wrong every single week. Yeah. All right, I'll give it a quick refresh. Hopefully that resolves most of these issues. Good morning, Exoteric. Nice to see you here. 4 a.m. Oh my goodness me. Nice and early for you. Yeah, nice and early on a Saturday as well. Gotta love the commitment, really. Right, a couple more things. Is Ferrari quicker than the Merc? I'd probably say they're on par. I'd say maybe Charles Leclerc is on par, or slightly behind George Russell, and then probably ahead of Antonelli. Like, the gap between Russell and Antonelli is quite big. I think Leclerc will slot himself in between during the qualifying session. Okay. Yeah, a couple more things to look into then. Verstappen is probably the one to watch for qualifying performance. He is he's had a previous couple of race wins here. He's had some very good qualifying laps over the past years. And if you look at the ideal lap from Verstappen compared to Piastri, Verstappen is right there. All right, let's see. Have we got the free practice 2 data mixed in still, or is it... Yeah, free practice F2 data. Sorry, F2 data is still mixed in. Right. Well, I guess for now we are gonna continue on. Maybe. I don't know. The F2 guys. I mean, their laps are so slow they'll pop off the screen soon enough once everyone comes out onto the circuit. But we'll hopefully get that fixed. Would F1 have a track in New Zealand? I think F1 could definitely have a track in New Zealand for sure. I don't know where it would be, but if you race to Australia, it's a pretty short flight. Well, I don't actually know how short it is. It might be 3 hours or so, but regardless, a lot closer than if you're in Australia, you might as well go to New Zealand. Can't wait for the FIA to add the F1 Academy data. Yeah, why not? Okay. What else have we got going on then? 6 minutes and 50 seconds left to go on the clock. Franco Colapinto had a couple of issues during FP1, wasn't able to do too many laps, but those issues were resolved in free practice 2. Still ended up, though, bottom of the timings, a little ways off Oliver Behrman. He's got some ground to make up, and I think he'll do some more qualifying simulations in preparation for quali later today, and hopefully that should help him out. I think there's a chance that Formula 1 will go to the Autodrome. Obviously, as MotoGP came back to this. Okay, that might be pretty cool then. Would like to see them race in South Africa. Yeah, that'd be... I mean, South Africa, the race in Kyalami would be fantastic, but... It's, there are so many locations around the world that want to host Formula 1, and then there's a limited amount of circuits that we can go to on the calendar. The calendar already is pretty packed, to be honest. Even for me, as just a commentator, it occupies a lot of my weekends, and it gets pretty, now it's the end of a triple header, so, I'd say I'm fairly tired. Obviously, I'm not going to complain too much. I'm just commentating. These engineers are flying all around the world with huge amounts of jet lag, and working around the clock to make sure these cars are in perfect condition, but it does get exhausting. The teams now do have these sort of on and off squads where you'll have some mechanics that will work for a triple header, or work for the first and the last race of a triple header, and then another set of mechanics that will work in the middle, just to give everyone a break and to have sort of a rotation throughout the squad in a very similar way to football, where there are loads of football matches going on for a big team like, let's say, like, I don't know, Chelsea, Manchester United, whatever. They keep rotating through their squad to make sure that everyone is in good fit condition to actually play some matches. And in the same way, the F1 teams are now having to do that. Rather than having one set of expert mechanics, they always rotate mechanics around to make sure that none of them get too tired, too exhausted, because it is very, very draining. I think especially the jet lag aspect of it. Of course, the people that travel a lot will get used to the jet lag. They'll have some ways to avoid it, but it does take a toll. So you can only really go 24, 25 races max. I think going any higher than that is a little bit ludicrous. So I guess we'll see. All right, I'm going to refresh the data one final time, and then I'm going to just put the FP3 data up with the Formula 2 drivers, because the FIA is incompetent, and I guess we might as well just show that off. What time is quali? 3 hours and 30 minutes. There should be a draft for the rights to hold a Formula 1 like the World Cup. I mean, maybe. I think the best way to do it is probably have the historic circuits, the circuits that the fans want to see every single year, like Spa, like Monza, and then alternate. It's a good idea to alternate circuits, like, I'm going to be totally honest. If there's a race in Australia and there's a race in New Zealand, you could have one race in Australia one year and the next year race in New Zealand. Like, I don't think it's the end of the world. But it should be the right circuits. We don't, as we're here in Barcelona, do you really want to go to Madrid? Probably not. I think Barcelona is a much better circuit. So I guess we'll see what the FIA or what the Formula 1 management team do. But here we are then in Barcelona, round number 9 of the Formula 1 season. We have had 1/3 of the season already complete. We are now entering the second third of the season. We've got the hardest tyres from Pirelli, the C1s, the C2s, the C3s, and they are going to be... Well, they're going to be pushed right to their limits this weekend. The track temperatures are exceedingly hot here in Barcelona. The sun is shining, it is baking the asphalt, and it is getting warmer as we speak. So track temperature currently, I think, is at 44 degrees, as you can see there up on the screen. And then we'll have the wind temps slightly lower. And yeah. All right, we'll be getting underway very, very soon then, folks. Yeah, be sure to hit the like button, be sure to subscribe. Hopefully we can hit 166k before the end of today's session, and 167 by the end of quali. That would be fantastic. Okay, folks, 3,600 people watching. That is fantastic. Can you show us another lap? Indeed. All right, here we go then. We'll go for another lap around the circuit. In fact, I might do a little bit of a slower lap. I might show you around the circuit. So, of course, you've got this nice long main straight here where you just want to get as much speed as possible. If you can slipstream someone, it will gain you a lot of time, probably a 1/10 and a half or so down the straight. Then you brake at this little concrete patch here. It's still there at the circuit. It's been used as a reference throughout all of these years, really. It's pretty much the 70-meter mark. You start braking at this piece of concrete, and then you just want to hit this first apex. As you can see, the track is sort of cambered inwards to the right-hand side, so it really helps you through. You can carry quite a bit of speed. Typically, if the track was totally flat, maybe this would be a third gear corner, but because of the camber helping the cars out, the drivers can take it in fourth gear, and then through the second part of the corner, you can pretty much go flat out here. And as long as you're not getting too much understeer, hold it flat through turn number 6. Run right to the inside line to minimize the distance. Then now as you head towards Repsol, you brake just under the bridge here. Great braking point. Sometimes the drivers will use the shadow as a reference. Sometimes they'll just look at the bridge and hit the brakes here. Now, as you can see, there's not you can't really see the exit here. At this point, in the mid corner, you can't really see the exit. You can't see where you're going. So the drivers kind of have to, based off their memory, think where the apex is going to be and then get onto the power. On this occasion, I misjudged it a little bit, got onto power a little bit too early, and then ran onto the grass. And then for this corner, you want to get a late apex because you want to get a nice and good exit onto the main straight. Hopefully not as much wheel spin as I just got there. Then you go towards Worth Corner, where you're once again got a camber helping you out here. Stay away from those curbs. They do get quite high and quite vicious. Then you go through camps where it's flat here. You can hold it flat in 7th gear, 250 kilometers per hour, probably a little bit even faster in these cars. The rear does go a little bit light because you're going over a crest of the hill, but the drivers do understand that and they keep that under control. Then you go around this this sort of extended section of turn number 10. You used to take the hairpin, but now we take this extended line around it to make it a bit more of a higher speed corner, and the drivers can still go side by side through here. And then you've got the final 2 corners. This corner is pretty much flat. The drivers just want to carry as much speed as possible. It's not so much about hitting the apex rather than carrying the speed. And then you've got the final corner where you don't want to exceed track limits or go out onto the gravel. Okay, so that is a lap of the circuit. The weird names, these are Formula 2 drivers. In fact, let me just type a message into the chat. F2 data on screen, hopefully will be soon. All right, well, the clock has gone to 0, so as you can see, we should have now drivers exiting the pit lane. Nobody's in fact queued up, so it'll be a little while till we get the drivers out onto the track, but once all 20 drivers come out onto the circuit, what that means is all the Formula 2 names will get pushed off the screen and it should be okay. But currently up on the screen we've got the Formula 2 data for no apparent reason, and the FIA is just doing FIA things really. Alright. What do you think about the difference between Oscar and Lando's driving style? If Oscar gets ahead, he just drives off. Lando can't catch up. I mean, I don't think it's more so about the driving style. I just think it's more so about the dirty air, really. Like, the dirty air is getting a lot more prominent in these years' cars, and because it is getting more prominent, it's becoming an issue to stay behind and to catch up to the drivers ahead of you. So, I guess we'll see. We'll see what happens. Okay. So first driver out onto the circuit is Franco Colapinto. We've got 58 minutes left of this session. Of course, we're only 2 minutes in, really. He comes out on a set of medium tyres. He was down on running in free practice 1, so he's just come out a little bit early to get some extra practice in compared to the other drivers. F1 Gamer, did you know that in history has been created in the Formula 2 sprint race? This year's Monaco Grand Prix, where an Indian driver won the Grand Prix by Kush Maini, 24, who is a reserve for the Alpine team. Oh, that's very exciting, actually. Of course, we haven't had a Formula 1 driver from India for quite a while. I think we had Karthikeyan and then Karan Chandok as well. They were previously in Formula 1, but nobody since then. And of course, the Force India team has also gone. So, and we also don't race in India, so it'd be good to have a driver from India, and if we have a driver from India, maybe we'll even get a race in India as well. That might convince the sort of local government and stuff to organise a race. Who are all the rookies? These are the Formula 2 drivers. They'll pop off the screen as soon as we get everyone else coming out onto the circuit. But yeah, typical FIA behaviour, really. This is I think the F2 quali, maybe, I'm not sure. But yeah, 1:43, or maybe the sprint race in F2, I'm not sure, but yeah. F1 Gamer, do you miss the Leclerc-Verstappen rivalry? Yeah, I mean, the Leclerc-Verstappen rivalry was fantastic. Both drivers pushed each other right to the limit. They went, probably a little bit beyond the limit, but the racing was fantastic. It was respectful. They were most of the time pretty fair and very, very exhilarating. You'd never know who would come out on top. I think we are probably going to see some similar stuff like that from Verstappen and Piastri. Lando Norris and Verstappen maybe, but on previous occasions when Lando Norris and Verstappen have battled away, it quite quickly ends up with Lando Norris getting pushed off the circuit and nothing ever else occurring. So we'll just have to really see what happens there. F1 Gamer, are you going to make an app that makes sense, because all of the ones, including F1's own, are trash? What do you mean about an app that makes sense? Like a Formula 1 news app? Is that what you're sort of talking about? I'm not really sure. We need Lord Marv in Formula 1. I mean, that for sure. Fernando Alonso just waving around to the fans here. He's on his install lap, just scrubbing some tyres, I think, for the Aston Martin team. And he's out waving to the fans, as he should really, is at his home Grand Prix. Crazy that F2 is 7 seconds slower than Formula 1. Yeah, I mean, it's It's quite a big step up, really. The step from Formula 3 to Formula 2 isn't that big, but then the step up from Formula 2 to Formula 1 is quite significant. 7 seconds a lap is huge, really, in motorsport terms. I think, in fact, the Super Formula cars are actually quicker than the Formula 2 cars, so that might be a reason why Tsunoda raced in Super Formula as well before he came to Formula 1, which probably helped him out because you get sort of these incremental steps up in pace rather than just this huge step from a 7-second gap. Not even a 7-second gap. The quickest lap from the Formula 2 drivers are 1:43 and Colapinto a 1:15. So there's about a 30-second gap. So I don't know, maybe these lap times are wrong for the Formula 2 cars, but there's a very big step up from Formula 2 to Formula 1, and there should ideally be an intermediate step, or the Formula 2 cars should get faster, because that's one of the reasons why some of these rookies have a very hard time adapting to Formula 1, because it's like jumping from a kart into a Formula 3 car. Like, that's how big I don't really know exactly the lap time difference between some of these karts and Formula 3 cars, but the point being, it's a very big step up, and that's why rookies need a lot of time to find their feet, whereas if the Formula 2 cars were a lot closer to Formula 1 cars, then maybe things would be different. Maybe the drivers and the rookie drivers would be able to step up a lot quicker and not take a full year to sort of adapt into the sport. Maybe only need half a year. Okay, anytime Formula 2 to Formula 1 promotion is mentioned, my mind goes to Behrman's onboard footage of his head bobbing around in the Saudi Grand Prix last year, I believe. Yeah, that's another thing. The Formula 2 drivers, with they'll be driving in the Formula 2 cars, and they will not be prepared for the G-forces in Formula 1 cars. If there was an intermediate step, maybe they'd be a little bit better adapted. Of course, Behrman was totally fine. His head was bobbing around, but I'm sure he recovered, and that probably made his neck stronger for the next race that he attended. So it is, of course, a balancing act. You don't want the Formula 2 cars to be too quick, because if they are too quick, then it's harder to then they're more expensive to manufacture. The crashes will be more intense and bigger impact. So there's a lot of things to consider when making these decisions. Why so much white? We've got all of the Formula 2 drivers up for whatever reason. The FIA have mixed up the data, and we've got the Formula 2 drivers here. So hopefully that gets resolved, but we really don't know with the FIA. So yeah. All right, folks. Thanks everyone for tuning in though. Hope you guys are enjoying the coverage, and hopefully we'll get this data resolved sooner rather than later, and we should be good to go very, very quickly. Alright, we've got 4 drivers out on circuit: Colapinto, Stroll, Alonso and Bortoleto. Apart from that, we've got a couple of the drivers just getting into their cars, and we'll be ready to go racing soon enough. F1 Gamer, where is the DRS detection point? So you can see those green dots up on screen where Alonso's just driving past now. That first green dot is the DRS detection point for the straight on the exit of turn number 9. And then you have got the other DRS detection point just before turn number 14, where it's just another green little dot there indicating where the DRS detection point is. So yeah, that answers your question. And I think for all future streams, I will have the DRS detection point up on the screen. It's a pretty useful piece of information. And then the purple dot is the speed trap. So Bortoleto and Stroll driving around, that's where the speed trap. If they pass that point, their speed will be measured. They won't get a fine, like most of us would for driving at 270 kilometers per hour. But yeah, their speed does get measured. We can only see 14 drivers on the screen. Well, yeah, you can see only 14 drivers, but if you look a little bit closely, we've got 2 number 3 drivers, and then we've got 2 number 5 drivers, and we've got 2 number 6 drivers, 2 number 10 drivers, 2 number 11, 2 number 13. So in actual fact, there are 20 slots across the screen, but for whatever reason, yeah, there are 2 number 3 drivers, which should all be resolved as soon as the drivers actually come out onto the circuit and do some laps. But everyone seems to want to sit in the pit lane for whatever reason. It's your average Formula 1 free practice session. Everyone's out there in Barcelona. They've got their umbrellas out for the shade, and no cars out on the circuit because everyone's waiting for the track to be cleaned up. Yeah, Lance Stroll, Fernando Alonso all did their one laps on their cars just to check the setup, get the install laps, make sure everything's working properly, and then also scrub some tires because Aston Martin, for whatever reason, they believe that doing one lap on a set of tires sort of scrubs them off and gives them better tire wear during the race. Not all of the teams think. There's some teams might do it on occasion, but Aston Martin is a team that consistently does that. They'll do one lap on a fresh set of tires just to wear them out, get the shiny new layer off, which means that, let's say, when they come out of the pits after a pit stop, they will have some hopefully good performance. Is rain expected today or tomorrow? No. No rain is expected. The fans have got umbrellas out because it's so sunny. Yeah, the exact opposite of rain. It's super duper sunny in Barcelona. They've got the umbrellas out to give them some shade. Yeah, it helps them make it fire them up easier. That is what it is. If they overinflate their tyres, it will also give them a better running surface after scrubbing. Yeah, I'm sure Aston Martin have a little bit of tricks of that here and there, but I think it's pretty minor advantage that they gain because if it was a major advantage, the teams would see it over the data and then they would start doing it themselves. What are the percentages of a Seb comeback? They're looking pretty unlikely. I think Seb might take... I think he took part in the Race of Champions. Maybe he'll do some, endurance racing here and there, but I don't think a return to Formula 1 is particularly likely, unfortunately. As much as I would love to see it, don't think that's happening. iPhone Gamer, what's the asphalt like on this circuit? I know it's high temp, but is it also rough like Bahrain? It's not as rough as Bahrain. The circuit does get resurfaced quite frequently because the MotoGP, I think, race here, and I don't think MotoGP race at Bahrain. But yeah, the surface is a lot smoother compared to Bahrain, but still, of course, it's not as silky smooth as the new asphalt you'd see, say, in Saudi Arabia or anything like that. And it does lead to high tyre wear. Borilav, thank you for the £2 donation. Very much is appreciated, buddy. When is quali starting? Quali starts in 3 hours and 20 minutes. Officials from the Indian Grand Prix are trying to get a contract for the race since last year, but cannot due to visa issues, and the government still claiming Formula 1 as an entertainment rather than a sport. Well, we all know Formula 1 is a sport, but I guess for these sort of legal matters, it's a slightly different thing. But yeah, MotoGP doesn't race in Bahrain, so I think there are some... I think MotoGP has some rules about how rough the asphalt has to be. I am not 100% sure of this. I think that they should probably have some rules, given that if the drivers, for example, fall off their bikes in MotoGP, then they're scrubbing across the asphalt, and you don't want the asphalt to be too rough, because if it is, then it'll just tear through their race suits, which is obviously not ideal. Okay, what else have we got to talk about? Can I mention the pace of each car purely on a car base? The pace of all the teams. Well, okay. If we look at the qualifying simulation data, it suggests that Red Bull and McLaren are identical. They're literally pretty much the exact same lap time. Then we've got Mercedes in third, Ferrari in fourth, Aston Martin fifth, Racing Bulls sixth, Williams seventh, Alpine eighth, Haas ninth, and Kick Sauber 10th. That is what the quali simulation data suggests. However, this data is not always the most accurate, and yeah, it'll give you a feel for what you're kind of expecting. But I think maybe Williams will leap up 1 or 2 places. Aston Martin might stay where they are. Ferrari might get close to the Mercs. It's all a little bit up in the air. Okay, Hamilton. What was I going to say? How do you feel about Aston Martin for this race? I'd like to see. I'd like to see Fernando Alonso do well. I think their pace has improved since Imola after they brought that upgrade package. So, yeah, I think they'll get close, but no sort of guarantees, really. Okay, your live board is wrong. Yeah, I mean, the data here is a little bit screwed up. It will be fine once once the drivers actually make their way onto the circuit. But for now, the Formula 2 data is up, and yeah, we've still got quite a few issues. Is there a corner named Renault? Indeed, there is. So we've got a couple of corner names here at the circuit in Barcelona. We've got Elf for turn number 1, Renault for turn number 3, New Holland as the final corner. Yeah, I just like to add in the corner names if we've got some. Adds a nice little touch, and then of course if I reference a corner name, then you guys know exactly which one I'm talking about, rather than having to guess. Okay. Is Lewis not in the session? No, Lewis is. He's not showing up on screen because of the Formula 2 data that's up, but once he comes out onto the track, he will pop up onto the screen, so no need to worry there. Lando Norris comes out onto the circuit. Nicely done from him, and we'll be getting some lap times on the board soon enough, and then the Formula 2 drivers should fall off the screen very quickly. But we're 15 minutes into the session. We've only got two lap times on the board, one from Bortoleto and one from Colapinto, so yeah, come on guys, get onto the track. Alright, 6,000, 7,000 people tuned into live stream. Thanks everyone for tuning in. Also, if you haven't hit the like button, be sure to do so. Very much would help out the channel. We're on the road to 200k, so yeah, would very much be appreciated. F1 Gamer, who's your personal GOAT? My personal GOAT would be Seb Vettel. Seb Vettel is my favourite driver, so I'm gonna go with Seb, even though of course hasn't got the most championships, hasn't got the most race wins. So why not? What's the gap between a McLaren, Merc, and Red Bull? Well, McLaren and Red Bull seem to be very close, and Merc seem to be about 2.5 tenths back. So, I guess we'll see. I guess we shall see. Right, let me just type a message into the chat. Give me a sec. Alright, let me just pin that message. Fantastic. Okay, why are there 3 V-carbs? There aren't. It's just that the colour for the V-carbs is white and the colour for the Formula 2 cars is also white. But as everyone now comes onto the circuit, we've got Lawson coming out onto the track. As everyone else comes out onto the circuit, the Formula 2 drivers will just disappear off the screen and it will not be a issue. In fact, no, they aren't moving down in their lap times, are they? Yeah, Gasly sets a lap. He goes 1:15, and the Formula 2 driver is GHI. I'm not sure who that is, but it says it's a 1:43 from them, and they aren't popping off the screen. I don't know. We'll get it resolved. So, yeah, Lando Norris out onto the circuit, Behrman is as well, so Sainz, and then we should be expecting all of the other drivers to come out as well. If Sainz is on the track, Albon should be coming out soon enough. Same thing for Piastri, because Norris out on circuit, and same thing for Verstappen, because Tsunoda's out on the track. Yeah, Tsunoda goes top. I mean, it's a 1:14.8. Yesterday we were looking at lap times at in the 1:12s. So yeah, still a lot of lap time improvement left to go. The circuit a bit more rubbering in to go, and the dust and dirt to be cleared off from the previous Formula 2 stuff. Okay, purple middle sector there for Lando Norris, looking pretty good. In fact, I shall probably take you through another lap while we're waiting for the cars to get out onto the circuit. I'll take you around for another lap. Here we go then. Oh, Sainz purple in the first sector, looking good there from him. Lando Norris comes across the line with 1:14.5. Great lap there from Lando Norris, and now the data is also frozen. Okay, folks, give me a second. I'm going to refresh the data, and hopefully what that will do is it will get rid of the Formula 2 drivers, and it will also fix all of the lap times and everything like that. So just give me a second. There we go. Fantastic. All right. And I just need to now add in a little bit of a delay so everything's synced up with my screen, but I'll do that in little bursts here and there so it doesn't cause too much of a hang for the folks watching. Okay, so it's going to pause for 10 seconds now, folks, the data, it's going to pause for 10 seconds so it just syncs up with what's up on my screen, and then yeah, otherwise, something happens on the screen, but I'm watching it about 10 seconds later, so I can't exactly commentate at the same time. Okay, there we go. All right, it should be back to normal now. Actually, it's not. It's just broken itself again. Has it broken itself, or is it fine? Okay, it's fine. Fantastic. Or maybe not. Oh, this is... Oh, what is going on? Come on, FIA. There we go. Okay. Fantastic. Why are there two screens? I don't know exactly what you mean. There are two sets of team radio messages, which is just as one radio messages. So as Nico Hulkenberg radio messages pops off the left-hand side of the data, or the left-hand side one column, it pops onto the right-hand side. So it just gives you a little bit more time to read stuff in case it's not on, in case it's scrolling by too quickly, just as it is now. Yeah. All right, folks. I'm going to give it a... quick refresh, and hopefully that resolves some things. Yeah, this timer, I mean, the timer's just flicking between 40 seconds and 17, 16, right. Hopefully. There we go. Finally. Okay, everything's in sync now. Brilliant. Apologies for all of the issues here, folks. The FIA systems are clearly not working today. But I'll continue on with the commentary really while we wait for all of the systems to sort themselves out. So we come out of the final corner here, want to get a very good exit onto the start-finish straight, and you're barreling down here at around 320 k's per hour. If you've got a slipstream, maybe even quicker. Quite important to actually get a slipstream if you can down the main straight. It will gain you a significant chunk of time. I think if Tsunoda gets into Q3 and so does Verstappen, Tsunoda's final Q3 lap, he'll probably do it a little bit early and then give Verstappen a tow on his final flying lap, just to help him out, making him go, give him any help that he needs to try and steal pole position away from the McLarens. Then you go towards turn number 4 here, or turn number 5, sorry. Just want to get a very good exit down the hill, and now you go up the hill through Worth Corner, where you've got quite a steep uphill. You go over this little crest here, keep the car under control, hopefully, and then through Campsie you go. The car goes a little bit light. You can see that twitch there on the steering wheel, but the drivers are well aware of that, and the extra downforce that they get from the floor really does help them out. You take this extended line through turn number 10, and now towards Bank Sabadell you go, where you're just trying to get a nice smooth exit and maintain this minimum speed. You can go flat through turn number 13, turn number 14 it's very borderline, but that is a lap of the circuit here in Barcelona. Alright, we got Charles Leclerc across the line, a 1:14 from him. Very nicely done. Purple overall, and purple in the middle sector as well. Hopefully now the data has resolved all of its issues and we are good to go. Can you put last year's lap time up on the screen? Yeah, I will figure out where to put it, because the screen is pretty occupied, to be honest. There is not much space, so I will put it up. And yeah, alright, we got Alex Albon across the line. Look at that, Ferrari 1-2, Williams 3-4. I mean, what are we, back in the 1990s or something? McLaren 5-6, fantastic. I mean, the Williams are on the soft tyres, Ferrari on Ferrari, in fact, Hamilton was on the mediums, Charles Leclerc on the softs. Really good lap there from Hamilton there. Verstappen comes across the line, medium tyres, 4th place for him. We got Stroll across the line, medium tyres again, 6th place for him. We'll see what Fernando Alonso can do as well. He's on a flying lap. Russell's a purple first sector, Norris purple middle sector. Right, all the action has finally picked up now. The data has also resolved itself. It's all working properly. We are good to go. F1 Gamer, will you use F125 for qualifying the race? I don't think I'll be able to. I don't think my internet connection is good enough to download the whole of F125 in between FP3 and quali. But I will probably have it done for Canada. Yeah. All right, we got George Russell here on a set of soft tyres here, so we should take that into account. Lando Norris's quickest time on a set of mediums, but George Russell now coming out of the final corner. He's got Piastri ahead of him, probably going to help him out a little bit and give him... Oh no, Piastri I think dives into the pit lane, and we get Russell across the line, first position, half a second clear of Lando Norris. Very, very nicely done there from George, and... this is what we expect to see, that a half a second pace difference between the mediums and the softs, and that just puts the Mercedes on par with the McLarens in terms of theoretical pace. So of course we'll see what the real pace is later today, but Williams hype train indeed. I mean, 5th position for Carlos Sainz, great job from him. Fernando Alonso as well managed to put the car up into 7th place. He's on the medium tyres, and the Williams are on the softs, so yeah, the Williams, maybe they're running higher fuel loads, but the soft tyres will be helping them out. Track temperature 46 degrees. Piastri came over the radio saying, I've got something hard on my left leg, and can you just come in? I'm going to come into my seat, and can you just check what's going on? So yeah, clearly, I don't know, maybe the mechanics have left something in the seat or something, I'm not sure, but this is sort of becoming more frequent. I think Verstappen also had something left in his car last weekend or maybe the weekend before. It might just be coincidence, but it might also be the mechanics just getting a little bit more tired and the mistakes creeping in. You know, a triple header is very, very exhausting. What is the theoretical best lap time of the circuit? Well, the best lap time that we've seen in Formula 1 in recent years is a 1:11.383. So we're still 2 seconds off that with George Russell's time. So Russell clearly wasn't pushing, the engine mode wasn't turned up. So that lap time will drop once we get closer to quali. Maybe the lap times will be slower this year. You know, we've got the technical directive saying you're not allowed flexible wings. So that might slow the cars down. Then yeah, and the cars are also converging a little bit, so the pace difference between last year's car and this year's car might not be that big compared to, let's say, the difference between the 2022 car and the 2023 car. F1 Gamer, what position do you think Max would qualify if he was putting a Sauber right now? Ooh, I mean, that's a tough one, but I think, let's say where Hülkenberg is going, and then probably 2 or 3 tenths quicker than Hülkenberg. I'm not exactly sure, really. I don't know how to compare Max versus Hulk, but I would say that because the midfield is so close in terms of how tight it is, and you know, that fraction of milliseconds can mean the difference between, let's say, 12th position and 16th position. I think Verstappen would qualify quite high up, albeit his pace won't be that quick because the midfield is very, very tight. I'm a new subscriber here. Hello, everyone. Well, hello, joining. Hello, who is it? Akanesh. Yeah, thanks for everyone for subscribing. Thanks everyone for joining the channel. Hope you are enjoying the coverage. And yeah, we've got all of the drivers out onto the circuit now, just the Formula 1 drivers as well. And as we can see, Russell is gaining 4 tenths of a second on Charles Leclerc down the straights. If we look at the top speeds here, of course, we've got the quickest being Nico Hülkenberg, Gabriel Bortoleto. The Saubers are typically quickest in the straight line because they just changed their setup to be powerful there. But George Russell, 5th fastest down the straights, 3:27 for him. And let's see, none of the Ferraris are even in the top 10. Lewis Hamilton is in 11th position for the speed trap, and then we're going even further down till we find Charles Leclerc, who's going to be, by the looks of it, right at the bottom. Yeah, 16th position for Charles Leclerc through the speed traps, and that's where Russell's gaining all his time, through the straights of this circuit. So maybe they're running slightly higher downforce at the Ferrari to try and combat tyre wear. Maybe they're just running higher downforce because they think it'll help them out in quali. Who knows? But yeah, Charles Leclerc losing, or maybe they're just running lower engine modes. Because with more and more races of these cars, more and more sprint races as well, the amount of kilometers these cars are running at full speed, maximum power, race power, is increasing. And ideally, the teams want to minimize the wear, so then they turn down the engine mode in practice, even more so than they normally do, to just prevent their cars and just be a little bit safe. Charles Leclerc improves his lap time. He gets close to Lando Norris, but not enough to beat his lap time. He's still on a set of soft tyres there. And it's interesting from Charles Leclerc, he improves down the straights, he improves his lap on the second lap on the soft tyres. So typically we see the soft tyres get written off basically. After one lap, that's it, game over. You aren't improving any more than that. But Charles Leclerc did manage to eke out a little bit more performance in the first and the final sector. Not so much in the middle sector, but regardless. An improvement in pace gives the team a little bit of hope that they can use a single set of softs for 2 runs rather than just 1. Williams is surprisingly quick this season. Indeed, they are. They've been improving at a rapid rate, and I think in 2026 they'll be one to watch for sure. Verstappen comes across the line, improves on his second run on medium tyres. That is to be expected. The medium tyres shouldn't wear out as much as the softs. He comes across the line. It's a 1:14.1 from him, and you can see he's 7 tenths back really from Yuki Tsunoda. That pace difference is quite enormous. And I think, were they just practicing giving each other a toe there? Did Tsunoda just get a toe off Max, or I didn't think he did, actually. If we have a look at his speed trap, I didn't think he was going that quick. Yeah, his first sector's not purple. In fact, he's slower in the first sector. So Yeah, but the teams might do this. If you've got a clear number one, number two, if Tsunoda can make it through into Q3, I fully expect Red Bull to tell him to give Max a tow down the straight, because that could be the difference between qualifying in first and qualifying in third. Great lap there from Kimi Anselli. Oh my goodness me. I mean, to be fair, it puts him up in second place, but he's still 4/10 back from his teammate. Regardless, good lap there, especially a great middle sector for Kimi. And hopefully he can continue on with this pace improvement, getting quicker and quicker as a rookie. I think it's going to be between him and Isaac Hadjar for Rookie of the Year. I think Christian Horner spoke out yesterday about Hadjar's been improving at a rapid rate, and he could be the next big thing for Red Bull. Potentially with Max leaving, and then he's commented about Yuki Tsunoda, saying Tsunoda does need to improve if he wants to be considered for next year's drive, and I think that's fair enough. I mean, the pace difference between himself and Max is 6-7 tenths of a second, which is pretty similar to what Sergio Perez was, and Sergio Perez was fired, so I think in sort of fairness, Tsunoda would probably get a similar treatment. If Max races for Saab, I'd rather get out the car and finish the race by his legs. Maybe. All right. Thank you everyone for tuning in, by the way. We're getting 9,000 people tuned in for just FP3. That's fantastic. I'll be commentating for qualifying as well, so I hope to see all you guys there for the quali stream. We'll have a very, very exciting qualifying session, and a lot of drivers giving each other tows, which will be interesting to see how that plays out. For sure. All right. How many hours till quali? It's 3 hours now till qualifying, ladies and gentlemen. 3 hours. Why are we doing long runs already? It's because the teams are going to do their quali sims right at the end of FP3. So they'll do their long runs in the first half, and then, well, they did some short runs at the start, of course. Then they'll do their long runs, and then they'll do some short runs at the end as well, just to get the drivers ready for the start of quali. If Seb comes back, which teams will he join? It'll probably be Audi, to be honest. Of course, Audi have signed Nico Hulkenberg as a German driver, so why not get another one? What else have we got to talk about then? Also, folks, if you guys are interested in watching the Formula One coverage for a fairly low price, so rather than the $30, $40 a month for ESPN or for Sky Sports, you can get Surfshark VPN using the link in the description, and then you can join an Austrian VPN server. Then search ORF on Google and make an account, log in, and watch Formula One for only $2 a month. So if you guys are interested, go ahead and check that out. There's a link in the description to Surfshark VPN. It does help out the channel, and also it does work. We've got 200, 300 people watching it on the channel using this method, and if it doesn't work for you, you can always get a refund. So if you guys are interested in watching Formula One for free, well, via Austria, then there's a link in the description. All right. We are another thing to watch out, track limits at this circuit. Turn number 10, track limits will be quite important. It is kind of optimal really to run really wide at turn number 10 and just carry as much speed as possible. So I think we saw Liam Lawson there exceed track limits at turn number 10, which he would get a lap time deleted for if it was qualifying or the race, but given its practice, it's not too much of an issue. Then the other thing is turn number 12, on the exit turn number 12, because its drivers are trying to carry as much speed as possible through towards 13 and 14, what they do is run out as wide as they possibly can. Again, there's gravel on the exit, which does prevent them from running too far wide, but track limits will be monitored there as well. Alonso's kind of cooking. Indeed, he is. He is quite a significant chunk ahead of his teammate Charles Leclerc. No, his teammate Lance Stroll. He's 5 places above him, but the gap between the two drivers is only 0.3 of a second. It's very, very close here in free practice 3, and it'll be a very similar story in quali. Is it race sims? Well, if you look at the lap times here, George Russell are 1:18, so yeah, clearly race sims. The quali times are down in the 1-minute 12s. Yeah. And the rest of the drivers are really just in the pit lane. They're now waiting. They will start their short runs soon enough, but a couple more drivers are doing some long runs. A couple more drivers doing some short runs. Oscar Piastri on a
on a 1 minute 14 there. So he's definitely not doing a quali lap of sorts, but he is also not doing a full fuel run. Maybe he's simulating the final stint of the race, where the car's fuel load is only at 30% fuel rather than a full 100% of fuel. The teams do have to do a lot of sort of simulation work and prediction work, so it's important to gather data from all different parts of the race, not just the race start with maximum fuel, not just right at the end with little fuel. It's important to get data from your first stint, your second stint, your third stint, and to sort of predict what the tyre wear is going to be like. What is the website called? The website to watch Formula 1 for free is ORF. So it only works if you're in Austria or if you have an Austrian VPN. So it's O for Oscar, R for race, F for Ferrari. Brilliant. Spanish bread and a Verstappen sandwich. Yeah, I mean, we got Alonso in 6th, Verstappen in 7th, Sainz in 8th. Williams are looking good, but they are, of course, those laps were on soft tyres, and I suspect when the Ferraris and the Red Bulls and the Aston Martin set their laps on softs, Williams might be left a little bit further back. This track map website, this isn't a website, it's called Multiviewer. You need to pay for F1 TV Pro or F1 TV Access or something to get it. There's a link in the description to get F1 TV Access or Pro, and then you can use Multiviewer. Okay. What else have we got going on then? We have got Ollie Behrman here, just on a replay. Yeah, a little twitch on the exit again. A little twitch on the exit of turn number 12. The driver's trying to carry as much speed as possible, and that leads to the rear sort of losing a little bit of grip, because you are steering and turning at the same time while putting power down. So, did I just say you're steering and turning at the same time? I mean, I'm a professional waffler. Let's just put it at that. Of course, if you're steering and turning at the same time. But yeah, the drivers are putting the power down, accelerating and turning at the same time, which just put a load on these tyres. Oh, we're getting one of the drivers slipstream Piastri here on the back of Pierre Gasly. He was slipstreaming down the straight, and that will change his top speed figures, actually. I don't think Piastri was using DRS, to be fair. Okay. Mate, Ferrari race pace is really good. Well, I mean, it's a 1:16 from Hamilton, so you can definitely tell that that's not a full fuel run, but it's a low fuel run, and the medium tyres seem to be coping. Ferrari don't have too many issues during hot temperature conditions. It's more so the what's it called? The Mercedes. During the Saudi Arabia Grand Prix, it was nice and toasty. The track temperatures were pretty high, and Russell was risking, he thought he was going to get a puncture. That's how bad the tyre wear was for George Russell. So yeah, they really aren't that great in hot temperature conditions, and Barcelona's one of those races. So we'll see what the Mercs can do. Their quali pace looks very promising. However, their race pace also looks alright, but the tyre wear is a bit of an unknown for them. F1 Gamer, do you think that Lewis Hamilton has got used to the Ferrari car or not? If then, when would he get used to it? Okay, I mean, this is a tough one. I've got a couple of angry people after I answered this question last time. I think Lewis has got adapted to the car as much as he possibly can at this point. He's still lacking pace in certain areas, in certain high-speed corners. He just can't extract as much pace as Leclerc. He doesn't have the same commitment, confidence that Leclerc does. So, yeah, I think this is probably as close as Hamilton's going to get. For certain, there will be occasions when Hamilton will outqualify Charles Leclerc and he'll do better than him. But I think if you were to ask me who's going to win in a qualifying head-to-head or who's going to score more points by the end of the season, I'm going to say Charles Leclerc. Based off the sort of trajectory that Hamilton's been improving at, the first race was kind of bad, but then he improved on the next race, got a sprint race win in China, and then things were going well. But then since then, things have plateaued, and there hasn't been much progress. He's been saying that he's been working with Ferrari to get these issues worked out and resolved. Maybe it's Ferrari's fault, maybe it's Hamilton's fault, maybe it's a combination of the two, but the pace just really isn't there for Lewis compared to Charles Leclerc, in a very similar way to what it was for George Russell last year. All right. Do you think Antonelli can get a podium? I mean, I don't know. I think Antonelli could get a podium, but it's going to require some action up at front, some DNFs to happen. We're going to need a Nico Rosberg, Lewis Hamilton moment at turn number 4 again for Antonelli. Okay. Yeah, Paul Lewis did not anticipate how hard Ferrari rides for Leclerc. It will take a year or two for them to integrate his style. Yeah, it's a different thing, really. Hamilton, of course, will have a different driving style to Ferrari, to Leclerc, and then the car will be built in a different way. I mean, Ferrari's pace isn't there either. Yeah, I mean, Ferrari's pace is not there. I can agree with that. So even if Hamilton's pace, let's consider if Ferrari were potentially going to win the championship, then I think the story would be different. I think Hamilton would be right there, coming in as early as possible every morning, leaving as late as possible every night, trying to work every single issue out from head to toe, nose to tail. But given that Ferrari have many issues of their own, it's not just Hamilton, it's also the car. There's not sort of that motivation, to come in so early and to work out all of the issues because you're not really fighting for a championship. Okay. So we got 19 minutes left of the session. Still only, we've got 6 drivers out on the circuit here. Pierre Gasly out on the circuit in 16th position, Antonelli out in 2nd place, and Russell out in 1st, of course. Verstappen is out on a fresh set of soft tyres. Looks like we're getting some quali sims here from Franz Hermann. We got soft tyres for Sainz, but they are old soft tyres, so I think Williams are preparing then to get through into Q3. If they're using old soft tyres now, they must be preparing for some fresh sets to be used in Q3. Let's not forget Ferrari changed suspension this year, so they are working on different issues. Yeah, I mean, Ferrari, I don't know, it was not the best idea from Ferrari to change their suspension, because the way that a Formula One car works is you have to design it as an integrated package, right? Your front suspension will affect the sort of how the air flows onto your side pod, which then affects how the air flows into your floor, and then it goes to your rear wing. The front of your car affects a lot of things, and then changing the suspension geometry can have a positive impact if done correctly and with a proper purpose. But Ferrari were struggling in certain types of corners. They changed their suspension geometry to benefit them there, but then in different types of corners now they're losing out because their car hasn't been designed with that suspension geometry in mind. It's like if I take the McLaren front wing and put it on the Sauber right now, the Sauber will be even slower than they are currently, and that is not because the McLaren that is purely because the car has to be developed as a package. The sort of the wake that comes off the McLaren front wing is going to be totally different to what the wake is coming off the Sauber, and the rest of the car isn't designed for that. So changing the suspension without changing too much of the related side pod geometry can have adverse effects, and I think Ferrari are experiencing those adverse effects right now, and yeah, they're suffering the consequences, really. All right, Verstappen goes purple in the first sector. Looking good for Verstappen. In the middle sector, he goes green. He's not too far off the back of George Russell's middle sector time, a 10th and a half back. Oh, no, just a 10th back. Sorry, not a 10th and a half. Okay, and then he's just got turn number 13 and 14 left. I don't think he'll be going flat through 14, to be honest, because, well, it's practice. There's no need to risk that. And he comes across the line, first position, and he goes 21 milliseconds quicker than Russell. So not even that much quicker compared to the Mercs. So I think the Mercs are closer than they should have been, than they seemed yesterday. Really, the Mercs, of course, brought an upgrade package, quite a significant one. Quite a big part of their floor was redesigned. The edges of the floor also changed, and that might help them out. They could get close to the fight. If we look at the current Constructors' Championship, we can look at. Let's have a look. So we got Mercedes 147 points, Red Bull 143 points, and Ferrari 142 points. 3 teams, 5 points difference. It is extremely close between all of them, and I think this upgrade package might help them out. Might help them score those extra couple more points that they need for the championship. All right, Lando Norris goes purple in the first sector, goes how much quicker? A tenth quicker in the first sector compared to Max Verstappen, and he's backed out of his lap, clearly going through camps. So must have made a mistake and has to back out of that one, I think. Yeah, had to back out of that one. Let's get a replay, see what happened. So he was going through turn number 9, and just a twitch of the car, really. Twitch of the car off onto the escape road, and that was the end of Lando Norris's lap. And as I said, yeah, the car does go light. In fact, I can just show you the replay here. I did in fact the same thing as Lando Norris. Not implying that I'm a good Formula 1 driver, but as we'll drive around this lap, I'll show you the little twitch on the exit of turn number 9. The car does go light, and the drivers do end up making little mistakes there. So you go towards turn number 1, brake at the 70 meter mark, hit this first apex nicely. You can go over the curbs at turn number 1. It doesn't gain you that much time, but it doesn't unsettle the car too much either. Through turn number 3 you go, just hugging the inside line. It's in fact, turn number 3 is called Renault, turn number 4 is called Repsol, and you just want to get a nice exit here. Maybe, you can't really see the exit, so running off onto the grass is quite easy to do, to be fair, but these drivers can drive these race cars blindfolded. That's how good they are. Alonso across the line, 3rd place for him. Very nice lap. And okay, yeah, as you go through turn number 9 here, you can see just this little twitch that I had on the exit, and the rear of the car does go light. Lando Norris had a slightly bigger twitch, had to go off into the escape road, and just played it safe, really. It's practice. He doesn't want to damage the car because he's going, 250 Ks through turn number 9? If you have a twitch there and into the barriers, that is a huge rebuild and potentially missing out on qualifying, because qualifying now starts in 2.5 hours, or 2 hours 45 minutes, and yeah, you don't want to be getting your mechanics to work all through lunch, especially once they've been tired. For the past 3 weeks, they've been going to Formula 1 races. You don't want them to have a full car rebuild to do before quali. So yeah, Lando Norris just backs out of it, plays it safe. He'll have another lap to do it sometime sooner rather than later. But Alonso's looking great, top 3 for him, and those soft tyres are working brilliantly. Maybe Aston Martin are back. It's the Adrian Newey effect here, ladies and gents. He's joined the team. He's told Aston Martin, oh yeah, you need to fix this bit of your side pod, you need to fix this bit of your floor, change your front wing in this way, and you'll be good to go. And it looks like Aston Martin have implemented some of those changes, and they are back. Yeah, I mean, Aston Martin's upgrades in the past couple of years, really, since 2023. 2023, they were looking really good. And in fact, they were the team that was sort of threatening to fight Red Bull in the Constructors' Championship in 2023. But then their upgrade packages every single year would be just so bad, and every single upgrade package they would bring would be more like a downgrade package. But Adrian Newey joined the team, and their upgrade package actually worked. Great laps from Hülkenberg and Bortoleto, 4th and 5th position for both of them respectively. Bortoleto in 4th, Hülkenberg in 5th. The pace difference between the two drivers, 9 milliseconds, extremely close there. And I've got to say, Bortoleto has been doing a fantastic job this season. I think he's definitely the most underrated driver on the grid compared to, nobody's really looking at him because the kick sours pretty much get eliminated in Q1 every single weekend. But the pace that he's showing relative to Nico Hülkenberg for his first season in Formula 1 is fantastic. Newey didn't even have to get involved in the 25 car. He just walked past it, filled his notebook, and then, yeah, that's probably what he did. Adrian Newey was just there, and I got his notebook out, and I think he, in fact, said in one interview, he just walks around with a notebook to sometimes just scare the other teams. He's just got that kind of aura, you know what I mean? Adrian Newey is just there, and he'll walk around. Everyone's frightened. He's like, oh no, he's cooking up some new design here. We're about to get royally screwed in the championship, and but yeah, great lap there from the Saubers, and hopefully they can do well. You know, their top speeds are looking pretty good compared to everyone else. They are, look, you can see the slowest speed is from the Hasses, 223, sorry, from both Hasses down the straight, and the Hulk and Bortoletto, the quickest, 229. So 6 kilometers per hour difference. That adds up over quite a long straight here we have in Barcelona. And it's interesting, both of them Ferrari powered. One team is the quickest through the speed traps, the other team is the slowest. So it's clearly down to downforce levels, not really the Ferrari engine. We got Piastri here on a great lap, purple through the first sector. Look at that, he's just setting everything purple pretty much. Every mini sector he's driven through is all purple. Great lap from him. Norris is also on a flyer, but this is, of course, on a slightly used set of tyres because he had to abort his previous lap. Nonetheless, puts him up into first place by half a second. Huge. But Piastri looks to be going even quicker than his teammate. Oh my God, through the middle sector, he's 0.3 quicker and half a second clear of his teammate, a second clear of the competition. Wow, Oscar Piastri, take a bow, man. I mean, he had a bit of a bad weekend out in Monaco. He said it was one of his worst weekends yet. He's hit more barriers in that single weekend in Monaco than he has in his entire career. But he is back. He's bounced back fantastically. Half a second clear. Wow. And we got Charles Leclerc in third place. He goes 7/10 back from the McLarens. And then we'll, of course, have George Russell come out in a couple of minutes' time now to do his final runs. And we'll see what he can do. Or maybe that might be the end for George. We'll see. But Max Verstappen is currently sat in the pit lane. He did only one lap on the medium tire, on the soft tires, and that was a 1:13.3, a full second slower than Oscar Piastri here. The track looks easy on the 2D model. It does look easy. However, other things to consider: the camber, the bumps, the elevation change, going over crests, which makes the car go light. It does look sort of straightforward, but there is a lot of other things that you can't sort of see from the 2D map that makes the circuit pretty difficult to drive and pretty difficult to go at, maximum speed around. There's gravel traps all around the place. If you exceed track limits, you're off into the gravel. Track limits to be wary of, I would say driving a Formula 1 car is no easy feat, to be honest. Lash's pole time are 1:11.383, so we're still 1 full second off Lash's pole time. The driver's still yet to turn up the engine modes, of course. Alright, also folks, if you haven't hit the subscribe button, if you haven't hit the like button, be sure to do so. It very much would be appreciated. Hopefully we can hit 166k by the end of this stream. We're 148 subscribers away? Not too far, and considering we've got 10k people watching, I think that's very, very possible. Yeah, so if you're new here, I commentate all of the practice sessions, all of the races, all of the qualifying sessions as well. And I've been doing it for the past, how many years now? It must be 4 years. I started properly doing it in 2021. And yeah, I hope to continue doing it on for many more years as well. Flexi wing ban changed nothing, bro. I mean, maybe. Maybe it just made the McLarens even faster. Who knows? But We'll wait and see. It's not looking that great right now, but we've had this happen on previous occasions where McLarens look leaps and bounds ahead of everyone in practice, and then once it comes to qualifying, it gets super duper tight. So I wouldn't count it out just yet. Yeah. All right, Hamilton across the line, 8th place for him on a fresh set of soft. Not great, really. He's 4/10 back from Charles Leclerc. F1 Gamer, since Jonathan Wheatley is now the Sauber team principal, do you think he can improve the car better than last year? Yeah, I think Sauber has already turned off this year's car development. They're already focusing on 2026 Sauber/Audi. So he'll take all of the knowledge and the expertise that he had from the Red Bull team. He knows a lot of the people, that are high up within a team. They know what makes the team successful. They know that, this is the design process. This is how we design our cars. This is the logic that we follow, and this is what makes us successful. So Jonathan Wheatley knows that. He's taken that from Red Bull. I'm sure he'll have applied some of that to Sauber in a very similar way. way, Adrian Newey has done a similar thing to Aston Martin. A lot of the processes and the tools that Aston Martin had were weak. According to Fernando Alonso, Alonso uses the weak word specifically compared to, or I think Adrian Newey used the word weak, but either way, like the tooling and the processing that Aston Martin have to analyze data, to work out if their wind tunnel's working properly and their models are working properly, weren't as good as the top team. So Adrian Newey came in, said that, oh, this needs to change, this is what you can do to fix it. And now Aston Martin should make some better progress. So having that knowledge from the top teams, what makes them successful, and applying that to your own team is very, very beneficial. And I think a very similar thing happened to Williams. 3 years ago, or I think, was it 3 years ago, maybe 2 years ago, James Vowles came into the Williams team with all of the knowledge from what make Mercedes successful, with all of their dominance in the early turbo hybrid era. He's gone and implemented that at Williams, and things are going swimmingly, aren't they? They've made great progress up the field. All right, and here we are then, 6 minutes left of the session. We have got George Russell across the line, 4th place for him. So that's his fresh set of tyre run, and he is 7.5 tenths back, pretty on par with Charles Leclerc. So Leclerc and Russell close with lap time. I think Antonelli and Hamilton pretty close with lap time as well. But yeah, very, very clear to see there is one team out on top, and that is McLaren. Oscar Piastri purple in all 3 sectors, and then it was Lando Norris. For a short period in time there, Lando Norris was the second fastest in all of the sectors. Antonelli, of course, broke that in the middle sector, goes second fastest in the middle sector, but regardless, a lot of pace there from the McLaren team. I love both the Spanish drivers. Come on, Eunice, give us a double Spanish podium, I think. Yeah. Love to see Alonso on the podium. Alonso on his podium as home race would be incredible, but we would definitely need a Nico Rosberg, Lewis Hamilton situation. Probably happen 2 times to get Alonso onto the podium. Who knows? Or maybe just a good time safety car. All right. In F1 25, Hadjar is the lowest rating of any driver on the grid. You think the people are the experts of the game? Well, his ratings were high or not? No, I think the ratings in the game don't really matter, in the same way that the FIFA ratings really don't matter and don't really mean much. They'll probably update them at the mid-season refresh as well. I think they update them part of the way through the season. So once we reach the halfway point, or maybe 3/4 of the way through the season, they'll see Hadjar's doing well and probably increase his rating. It's not too much to worry about. Okay. And then we have a very nice lap. Sainz is pushing pretty hard, going all over the gravel here, getting a feel for the limits. So he knows how hard he can push during the quali session. Yeah, folks, qualifying is in 2.5 hours time, 2.5 hours. So I hope to see all of you here. We've got 10,000 people currently watching the stream, but yeah, I hope to see all of you guys for the qualifying stream. 4 minutes left on the clock, and really we haven't had that much running in today's practice session. The teams have copious amounts of data about the Barcelona circuit. They have probably the past 4 years, all of the previous preseason testing data they had from Barcelona. Like, they really don't need to worry too much about gathering data at this circuit, because, well, they just have so much historic data. And that's why we're just not getting too much running. The drivers are very familiar with the circuit as well. They've done a lot of practice around here, and that's why it's not too much of an issue. All right, Verstappen, though, is coming out on a set of soft tyres. Nicely done. And those are a used set, but regardless, I think he's going to be doing a quick run with 3 minutes left on the clock. Leclerc's also coming out. What tyres for Charles Leclerc is also a 3-lap-old set of soft tyres. I think Tsunoda will probably be doing the same. And we'll see what the lap time difference is between the drivers. What else have we got going on then? Folks, do let me know what your predictions are for qualifying. Who do you think is going to get knocked out in Q2? Will we have a surprise Q2 elimination? Of course, back in Monaco, we had both Mercedes getting knocked out in Q2, which I think was probably the first time that happened since about... Well, I can't really remember, but I have never remembered both Mercedes getting knocked out in Q2. Pretty much since 2014, surely. So... do let me know what you think's going to happen. Are we going to get some surprise eliminations? I guess we'll wait and see. All right. What is your favorite track this season? I mean, of the races that have already happened, I mean, I would have to say that we had a really, really good race out in Bahrain. No, I think quite a bit of, well, of course, Piastri did win by a pretty big margin, but we did have some pretty good racing this season. So I don't know. I'd say the race in Australia was great because of all of the rain action. That's definitely got to be up there. Monaco. Oh yeah, Monaco is my favorite. Wink, wink. No. But if I'm looking forward to any race this season, it will probably be Interlagos or Spa. Maybe Canada if it's raining. Canada in the rain would be spectacular. What do you think Lando does if Oscar wins the championship? I mean, I don't know. He'll continue driving. You know, he'll hope there'll be another chance to win a championship and try to beat him. I don't think Lando's going to leave the team or anything like that. They're all going to be. He's going to try as hard as he possibly can. Okay, so yeah, a minute and 20 seconds left on the clock here, folks. Oh, I'm going to FP1 and FP2 in Spa. Can't wait. Oh, that's a fantastic circuit to go to watch Formula One race at. I think Spa is one of those circuits which I would like to go visit. In fact, Spa, maybe Austria as well. Who knows? Okay, folks. We're getting pretty close to our subscriber target. It very much would be appreciated if you guys subscribe. Also, I don't think we've got any adverts that have played in today's stream. I've done my best to block them, so hopefully you guys haven't got any more ads. Yeah. Okay then, 48 seconds, 45 seconds left on the clock now. Everyone coming out just to do their final couple of runs. And Verstappen didn't improve on his second lap. Yeah, he was 0.3 slower. So it's to be expected. Those soft tyres are really only meant to do one lap, especially when track temperature up at 47 degrees Celsius. It's going to be super duper toasty. And one lap it is really for the softs. If you're going to do the medium tyres, then maybe you could do 2 laps on the mediums, but are the mediums that quick? I don't think so. According to Pirelli, there's a half a second difference in the mediums and soft tyres. I wouldn't want to take that risk during qualifying. So I think it is going to be soft tyres for everyone in quali. Okie dokes then. That has been free practice 3, ladies and gents. Thank you everyone for tuning in and coming along. We got a quickest through the speed traps here for Lewis Hamilton. 330Ks from Lewis Hamilton. Checkered flag is out. I'll wait till Lewis Hamilton completes his flying lap and then I'll end the stream. But Hamilton going quite nicely here and makes his way through turn number 4. Let's see what he can do. Hopefully he can improve, but he goes slower in the first sector compared to his previous one. Not ideal, but of course he's on a used set of tyres. What can you really expect? Yeah, qualifying isn't all that matters here. I would like to point this out. We've had more than 50 overtakes at the Spanish Grand Prix for the last 3 years in a row. Oh, and Hamilton aborts his lap. All right, well, that's the end of quali. But either way, that's the end of FP3, sorry. But we've had more than 50 overtakes here in the past 3, more than 50 overtakes per year for the past 3 years running here in Barcelona. So there's loads of chance for overtaking. And qualifying isn't the be-all and end-all of everything. Okie dokes then. Thanks everyone for tuning in. I will see you in 2 hours time for qualifying. The qualifying itself will start in 2.5 hours. I'm going to do a little bit of a pre-show build-up and I'll see you for that. So I'll end the stream now. I'll take you to the qualifying stream. If you could just hit the like button and the reminder button, it really does help out the channel. Would very much be appreciated. And if you haven't hit the subscribe button, be sure to do so. And I think that's it from me. Yeah, it's been a pleasure commentating to you guys. I'll see you in 2 hours for qualifying. Bye-bye.